And we're back once again, listener people.
Episode 6.
Yeah, so in episode 5, we were talking about sexual devices and Benoit balls, and as soon as we walk out of the studio, I hear a loud thunk because Tana accidentally dropped one out of her vagina.
Yes, I did. I was wearing a dress that day, and my athletic shorts that I used to hide my hoo-ha from view when I get in and out of cars was not enough to keep that little thing contained. So yeah, one of them slipped out, and then it kind of rode around with me for a minute, and then bloop, plopped out.
You trying to hide the hoo-ha when you get in and out of cars?
Well, yeah, I don't want everybody to see my business.
You're never going to be as famous as Lindsay Lohan if you keep doing that.
It's true. It's true.
Show it to the world.
But now you guys know that I for sure utilize all products that I endorse. So yeah, my Benoit balls, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not faulty. It's that I lost concentration for a moment and let them slip past.
She's getting prepared for when the Guinness Book of World Records starts taking on that strongest vagina competition.
Heck yeah. I want my picture in the paper, even if it is just my hoo-ha. There'll be enough people that recognize it. Wait a minute.
I've seen that before.
I've seen that one. It looks good.
Kind of set it up like, you know those world's strongest guys, so like they'll pull trains or planes or something with their teeth. You gotta start like pulling buses with your vagina.
Well, I mean, it really sounds like it's going to be a Tijuana show.
Yes.
So that's what I mean, not the donkey show kind though, but maybe with a soft drink can. I don't know. I've heard of these things. I've never seen any of these weird videos, but maybe it'd be a different angle to take the show in.
Tijuana cracks me up, man. I've only been there once. It was just I'd never been outside the country before. We happened to be in San Diego, and I'm like, hey, let's walk across the border. So we did. My wife and I are walking hand in hand, and holy crap, that is the most seedy location I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
But she's staying kind of close to me just in case anybody starts any shit. And this guy yells out, hey, honeymooners, you want to see pussy? And he sounded so much like Cheech Marin, I just started laughing.
Like from that movie From Dusk Till Dawn.
And as soon as he said it, I mean, the first thing out of my mouth, I'm like, no thanks, I've seen one before.
Right.
Kept on walking.
Well, and those have got to be kind of interesting shows to see, but...
You would have never heard about them if people weren't going.
No.
If somebody's going to see that shit, it's got to be kind of interesting.
Well, there's people that travel the world for all kinds of unusual sights and sounds and experiences. Some of them quite devious and creepy, though.
In Mexico, it cracks me up, though, those border towns. Like, when we were walking around that day, we walked by this, like, fancier restaurant. I can't think of the name of it right offhand, but the guy outside was dressed like a maitre d' from a fancy restaurant in the States. And he starts trying to talk to us about drink specials and food and all this. And we're like, nah, no thanks. We're not really hungry. And then he just, like, puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, hey, I can get you any drug you want. What do you want, man? I can take care of you. I'm just like, wow, this is fucked up. And that day we saw, like, big Jeeps full of the police driving around with, like, M16s in their hand.
Right.
And you see, like, 6 guys standing up in the back. And, of course, I must look like a Japanese tourist that day. I'm just pointing my camera at them and shooting. Yeah, this is cool.
I've never seen any kind of Gestapo stuff like that.
Oh, it's pretty fair-looking sight in the cities anymore when you see your police wearing all SWAT uniforms and shit.
That's scary.
It is. But really, what's scary is the fact that Mexico's going through this huge drug war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the drug dealers and the cartels down there, they are more powerful than the government. They own better military equipment than the government.
Oh, yeah. Well,
mostly because of our government selling it to them.
Yeah, well, but it's pretty bad when the general public has to go and whoever can afford to reinforces their vehicles so that they can't be shot through.
Yeah.
And that's not something that most people can afford, but anyone who can does.
I mean, we could call an end to that war immediately with legalizing stuff in the States. If we just started treating people who had addiction problems and no longer imprisoning them, putting them on a regular market where you can tax the income from these types of things, those cartels would lose power immediately. We wouldn't have a completely destabilized and potentially violent neighbor to the south. We could fix it real quick.
Do you think that the cartels would then switch over to only human trafficking?
There's a good possibility because they do a lot of that as well. That's a pretty scary prospect.
It really is.
Because Mexico's a huge tourist destination for people from the States. I mean, they've got a lot of beautiful locations and a lot of nice ancient locations as well.
There's some definitely cultural sites I would love to check out, but I'm a little concerned about safety.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're traveling down there, they just assume, well, you've got money. Somebody will pay to get you back. And they snatch people left and right. It's a frightening prospect.
Well, they have that kidnapping insurance you can get, but that good it does you.
Well, it seems to work well with the Somali pirates because those guys are like, all right, you want $1 million, but we're willing to give you about 25 grand. Those pirates are willing to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know so much about the ones in Mexico, man. They might just kill you right off the bat.
Well, and I think that often happens. There was a few years ago, right along the El Paso and Mexico border, there was something like 3,000 bodies found, almost all female. And the women had been disappearing from miles and miles around on their way to work. Because what they were doing, the young ladies were doing, they would have to get up at like 3 in the morning and try to walk all the miles to the nearest bus stop so they could get a ride to whatever town was nearby so that they could work in different hotels and things. And they were doing the very best they could to support their families. But en route, many of them didn't make it. And so over the years, many of them went missing.
How sad. It's all based on the whole financial system that we've set up. This big ruse of crap that really has no basis in the reality of staying alive.
Right.
And we're just destroying life everywhere we go for profit. It's a sad, sick, mentally ill state that we live in, basically.
Truly.
And it's a worldwide mental illness.
Well, and it's just so twisted.
Shouldn't be laughing when I say that, but
no, but it's not funny at all. It's just so preposterous that we have allowed ourselves to get to this point where, and it's not like this is brand new, but human life has so little value that thousands of women can be killed for just whatever sick purposes people kidnap them for.
Yeah, and the whole sex trade, kidnappings and all that we've got to educate people enough to make that stop. And one of the biggest issues is when you're on the aggressor side, whether it's, the people in Africa who are raping babies to cure their AIDS, if it's, people who are kidnapping young women all over the world to sell into the sex trade.
The people that go over to the some foreign countries to have sex with 6-year-old boys or 6-year-old girls.
Yeah, like Thailand, people that go there for that kind of garbage. It's all based on the fact that you don't necessarily see your victims as full-fledged human beings. No, they're not equal to you. They're garbage. No, well,
it's just so disgusting. But it's basically like they are just a masturbatory device.
Yeah.
They're the same as any other plastic marital aid. They see these human beings as devices for which to be penetrating for sexual purposes. They're not human beings at all.
That was one of the reasons that I wanted to do a podcast, though. I want more and more people to discuss it and get a view on the fact that we are all the same, no matter what your skin tone, your gender, your sexuality, your height, your spiritual beliefs, anything of that nature. It doesn't make you any less of a human being than anyone else. Everyone deserves basic rights and to be treated as a human being.
Right. As a human being that doesn't want to be harmed.
And the only exception that I could think is if you are one of the aggressors in those situations, you should be treated like a masturbatory device for big, hairy motherfuckers in a prison who have no other outlet.
Well, but then, does that perpetuate the cycle of continuing to just create more evil and hate in the world?
It does and it doesn't. I mean, prison is a whole other mental ecosystem unto itself.
Oh, yeah, and we could spend years talking about that one as well. But I just wonder, when, and I'm not saying anything for or against, but when you use the same kind of things as punishments as what a person's crime was, I wonder if it's actually effective or not, or if it just, if it's just putting more wretchedness out into the world.
I would say for all that we claim in our mental development and becoming a better, smarter species as we've gained more information throughout the years, our way of punishing people for their crimes is always the same. We might think it's a little more humane, but really all we do with our prisons is create a more educated, better class of criminal.
Right.
I mean, people go in for small-time theft because they needed to buy groceries for their family, and they come out master car thieves, master home burglars. They learn the drug trade, the ins and outs, and they get references that they can go out and get new jobs in an illegal trade. Our prison system really needs to be revamped, and it needs to be taken out of the hands of private industry. It should not be a for-profit organization.
Did you see that Michael Moore documentary a couple years ago where they went to, I believe it was Norway, and looked at their prison system? It was on the special features on the disc.
Oh, no.
It was the one about healthcare. What was that called?
Sicko.
Oh, Sicko. Yeah, it was Sicko. And one of the special features, because I like to actually purchase my media, and I don't pirate things. I purchased this disc. And anyway, so one of the special features, they went to Norway and looked at their prison system. And this one particular prison that they looked at was on an island not terribly far off the mainland, but the inmates all stayed on this island. They had cabins, like there'd be 6 to 10 men per cabin, and they would go and work all day. Some of them went to the mainland to work, and then they would just basically on the honor system come back at night. So it was kind of like a work release program, except that not everyone was allowed to leave the island. It was based on kind of earning privileges and making sure that you were not going to try to take off. But they had leisure time. They were allowed to go to the beach and swim because it was an island. There's water everywhere. And the really interesting thing was
practice for the escape route.
Well, but that's the thing is they didn't have a problem with that. And families would come in for picnics and stuff and tour the place. And the families with their small kids would come in and everybody, and it wasn't that there weren't guards, there were, but they weren't armed. And they were just there to kind of just keep an eye on things, but they didn't have any problems with that. And the longest prison sentences, from my memory, were 20 years, and that was for the most severe crimes. There was no death penalty because their whole goal was to take these people, teach them skills that they can use, like how to trim trees or how to mow the grass or whatever, and then go out and make sure they had jobs before they left. And that's why they all went to the mainland to work. And it was just fascinating to me that not only were these people prepared to leave and then go rejoin society, but that they made sure society and then whenever were apart, because people would come there for vacation and holiday and stay there for picnics or whatever. And it was just fascinating to me how much better it seemed to work for them. They have a lot lower crime rate.
Well, that is good. I mean, there are a lot of crimes out there that people are in prison for that shouldn't be crimes, really. I mean, if somebody is stealing, it's because we have this fake scarcity in our society.
Right.
And we do that to make some products more profitable. But really what we're doing is keeping some people destitute to give incentive to the working class to not fuck up and become destitute.
Right.
Fear. The people who are dealing drugs, it's not because drugs are so bad. It's because we said, no, you cannot have them. And whenever you tell somebody they can't have something, look at any child on the planet, they try to get it anyway just to see if it's something good.
Right. Why can't I have this?
Yeah, well, I better try it just to see if it's bad. But, if you stop doing that, you can eliminate everything. Most of our prison population is based on drug offenses, non-violent drug offenses like that. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for us to spend taxpayer money going into a for-profit system owned by private corporations just to keep our society locked up. And that's really what we're doing.
Well, did you hear in a few counties over, there's a county, it was in the paper, that is going to be charging per day, they call it per diem, to be incarcerated in the local county jail. So if you get in trouble, you do something, you go to jail, you have to pay a daily fee to remain in there. And your fees have to be paid up before you'll be allowed to get out. And that's on top of your bond.
Oh, and I'm sure, if you're making 10 cents a day working in the jail, you probably owe $5 a day for staying there, so you'll never really catch up.
I think when you're actually in jail, you don't earn any money at all. I think that what you earn is days off of good time.
Yeah, that might be in prison, how you earn a certain wage, and it's really low.
Yeah, it's incredibly low. And those opportunities aren't even there for everyone.
That almost just turns it into a debtor's prison, which is supposed to be illegal in
this country. To be, yes.
Yeah. It's a ridiculous... Yeah.
But well,
I need to become more educated on it before I bitch too hard. But.
Well, just the other day, one of my family members got a letter from the sheriff's department, and it said that there was a warrant having been issued for his arrest because of a medical bill that had not been paid. And I thought, holy shit, I didn't have any idea that you could have a warrant issued for a medical bill. And apparently what happened was there was this medical bill, he couldn't afford to pay it. There was a court hearing because it went to collections. He still couldn't afford to pay it, didn't have any money. And because he didn't ever make any restitution and pay this bill, they actually sent a warrant out, and they sent him this letter that if he went and paid this, half of it as a, quote, bond, that then he would not be arrested. But it was like a total Gestapo kind of move, because if you didn't pay this, they're coming to your house to get you tomorrow. And it's like, if he had money, he'd have paid it. So now you're gonna incarcerate someone because they don't have any money to pay a medical bill?
Well, kids, forget about having groceries this month.
Right!
Daddy has to stay out of jail so he can possibly feed you next month.
Exactly.
That's a terrible scenario.
And I did not think
everywhere.
But I didn't honestly, I did not think it was true that people went to jail for bills like medical bills.
It shouldn't be true.
I did not believe it until I saw it with my own eyes.
That's why I'm a huge advocate. I mean, if you've got any kind of debt you can't pay, find a bankruptcy attorney.
Yeah.
Fuck that company. If it's especially hospitals. Hospitals are making so much money. The unfortunate problem is it's not going towards the doctors and better treatments. It's going towards the corporations that own the hospitals.
Right.
And they have to sell. Doctors and nurses have to sell to your patients certain testing procedures and medications and things just to protect their own ass from lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do is just revamp the system so you can't necessarily sue your doctor unless he makes an intentional fuck up or, in some way causes harm that shouldn't have happened.
Right. Well, and sometimes there is a doctor that is so negligent that they have no choice but to be sued. You have to sue them. Like, for instance, if your doctor comes to the hospital and does surgery and they're intoxicated, that's absolutely not okay.
No, and that person should lose their license permanently and have to go become a Walmart greeter.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a Walmart greeter. Fantastic job.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that somebody who's got a couple $100,000 in debt and shows up to work drunk, a couple $100,000 in educational debt, and shows up to work drunk, that guy deserves to be paying the ass for the rest of his life.
That's crazy.
But it's the whole system of money just cracks me up. I mean, there is literally nothing backing the money other than mass perception.
Right.
That's really all it is.
It's the same perception that makes diamonds valuable. What the hell about a diamond is valuable? You can't eat it.
It's a rock.
Yeah, you can't warm yourself with it. And yes, people will say, well, it's the hardest mineral on Earth. Okay, well, what the hell good does that do me?
Well, great. Build something out of it that needs to be hard.
Right.
A space shuttle.
Right, build a space shuttle out of diamonds. Or maybe we should build, foundations out of diamonds. They'll never crumble. But then they create obviously they don't create diamonds, but they create the desire to have diamonds as if it's some kind of value. And it really is no value. And people are losing their lives all the time for diamonds. Yeah. And there's billions of them being just held hostage because they want to keep the price up.
Well, really, I mean, if you wear a natural diamond or just own them, you have in some way, shape, or form supported slave labor.
Right.
Because that's where it all comes from. It's all brought to you by slavery. Unless it's a laboratory-made one, because they do make some in the States in these huge vats that I think he was I forgot, he was like a major or something in the Army, and a Corps of Engineers, and he figured out how to pressurize certain minerals to make fake diamonds, but they look almost completely real.
Right, and I know that there's things called conflict-free diamonds, and they're supposed to be certified saying that they did not come from an area where there's conflict, but my whole issue with diamonds in general is that most of them are from an area where there's conflict. So you're still perpetuating that cycle, even if you're buying non-conflict-free ones. You're buying conflict-free ones, it doesn't matter. You're still participating in the whole cycle where people are buying conflict diamonds.
Well, one of the worst things I heard about this is where, and I don't want to name a diamond mine because if I'm wrong, I don't want to have anybody jumping down my ass about it.
Right.
But some of these slave labor camps where they dig the diamonds out and they beat people to death if they're not doing the job right.
Cut off their feet and hands and whatever.
Right. These people will pull so many diamonds out per year. They would be cheap. They would be garbage paperweights if they were really released. But they burn them and destroy them just to keep an artificial scarcity and drive the price up on a regular basis.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of anyone burning them, but I do know that there was entire stockpiles.
Oh, yeah.
That could be released, except they want to keep the price in the market going the way it is.
And really, the only reason that we keep them around at all is because once upon a time, royalty had them, and nobody else could.
Right.
And now it's advertised to you, what better way to show your love than spending 2 months' salary? I don't know. If you've got the money to spend 2 months' salary, maybe you should just take time off work and spend it together.
But yeah, traditionally for an engagement ring, it's supposed to be 2 months' salary. I don't know where that rule came from.
Some advertiser.
Yeah, some advertiser somewhere. But yeah, I heard another catchy little one that it goes something like, if it ain't 2 carats, I ain't gonna wear it. And it's like, do you know how big 2 carats of anything is? It's huge.
Do you know how much of a dirty whore you sound like when you say something like that?
Oh, yeah.
I can't love someone who can't give me the perfect shiny rock. Well, then fuck you.
Exactly.
Go find somebody else because you're not interested in me.
Yeah, but it's the whole diamond trade is really scary.
Well, it's not just diamonds. I mean, in Africa, where most of these slave trade diamond mines are, there are pygmy tribes that are being enslaved and killed on a regular basis to mine a mineral called coltan, which most people have never even heard of.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. What is that?
Well, coltan is a very conductive mineral used to make all of our new high-speed computers and smartphones. All of that shit only works because of this mineral coltan.
Really?
There is no computer or smartphone out there that does not contain some portion of coltan. Most people don't even know that.
No, I've never heard that before, and I thought it was pretty up in technology. I've never heard that before.
Everybody's like, woohoo, look at how great my phone is, and I can't help but think, woohoo, who had to die to make that?
As I look guiltily at my phone.
Yeah, exactly. As we record into this computer.
Hello, little smartphone. I was so sorry. I didn't realize you cost someone their life. But the thing is it's not funny. It happens all the time, but we don't know it.
Well, and that's the thing. People are really ignorant of where things come from. Most of the time, I mean, if you support a company like Walmart, you're supporting slave labor.
Yeah.
It's all coming from sweatshops in other countries. And it cracks me up because all of their advertisements through like the 80s and even the early 90s were all about, if it ain't American made, we don't sell it. We're an American company, blah, blah, blah. And then all these documentaries start coming out showing you the real factories in Asia and South America where people are, basically enslaved.
Isn't there some kind of way for them to get around that and say something's American made by having like the last stitch put in America or something?
Some stupid bullshit.
There's some kind of loophole
that
they're using to say something's American made when it's not.
I would say the best way to fix that problem is a one-line legislature.
Buy a loom and make your own stuff?
Well, that would be a great way to do it if people just started taking an interest in the things they wanted and making them themselves. But if we just passed one piece of legislation that says from now on, any imported goods, 500% tax increase on all of them.
Right. Well, then people are going to say, but what about these poor other underdeveloped countries that are trying to sell their goods and services throughout the world?
We'll teach them how to make all the same stuff we're doing. If we can do things in an ethical way and build our society, make our own energy, make our own computers, and advance ourselves forward technologically without destroying the environment, once we've reached that point, we can turn around and teach it to anybody who wants to learn. Well, but we don't have to force it on them through military.
Absolutely. And there's a thing called free market, that people are actually selling their goods and services through means that are ethical, where they're being paid closer to a livable wage, really not as high as I feel it should be, but it's much better than the other way where they were just being robbed. They were being just robbed and brutalized. But, if you go to the store, the easiest thing to find is free trade coffee. That's available everywhere. And if you go to the grocery store, look around and just see, and it's going to cost about $1.50 more. And the reason for that is that extra money actually goes to the farmer. And that's a really dumbed down way of explaining it, but that's essentially what it means, is that they buy these products through farmers and use without the middlemen so that they get a reasonable wage, basically.
That's a good way to go. Really, I mean, if we could just stop trying to take all this dumb shit from everywhere and be the masters of the world, because all we're really doing is destroying ourselves over shit that nobody really needs anyway. We can't really decipher our definitions there between want and need. Yeah. Advertising has blurred the line.
Well, advertising has definitely blurred the line. If you think about the food that you need to have so many ounces of meat a day. And by meat, I mean any protein source. It could be legumes or what have you. But you need to have, eat a bug. But you need to have such and such level of protein. You need to have so many grains and vegetables and fruits. But nowhere on there does it say you need to have a candy bar. And they even have a little section for sweets, but you really don't need that. And people say, oh, well, you need to have a certain amount of sweet and sugar to live and salt to live. Well, don't you think that's already on everything you're eating? And it truly is. It's on everything you're eating, and you can add a little pinch of salt to something. But the things you actually require to live are much more bland than what you're actually eating. You don't need to have all these other additions to make things interesting. You don't even need spices. You don't need them to live.
Well, you don't.
It's nice to enjoy food, though.
It does kind of come off a little douche-ish the way we're saying this.
It does.
We are not perfect.
I
eat junk food all the damn time, but I try to mix it up with good, healthy foods as well.
Right.
And I know you do the same because I've seen you eating junk food.
You saw me drinking an iced coffee from McDonald's earlier today. They're so good. But the thing is that I know that they're actually not good for me.
Yeah.
And I'll once in a blue moon go and buy one, but I don't buy one every day because I drink a lot of water.
I drink so much water, it's unbelievable. And if I didn't know it was toxic, I would feel really good about myself.
I know, right? And I do. I worry about the water. I'm like, look at me drinking this out of this plastic container.
Yeah, exactly.
This plastic reusable container.
I just keep refilling these store-bought plastic bottles.
I know.
There's some cancer waiting to develop.
It says on those bottles they're only for one use. It says there's a number 1 inside the little triangle. That means only one use. You're supposed to throw it away.
Well, the thing, people don't even know that. I mean, just look at the ingredients list on some of the stuff you put in your body on a regular basis. Mountain Dew is one of the more popular drinks. Mm-hmm. And sorry I mentioned you by name, but hey, you've got some shit in your products. Brominated vegetable oil. Most people never heard of it at all. It's actually banned in almost all first world countries. It is a huge ingredient. Mm-hmm. It's a cancer-causing agent. Yeah. This shit is not good for you.
Well,
but if you buy it and you drink enough and you get cancer, you're going to help support those corporations that own the hospitals and the pharmaceutical companies that are going to make all the medications to make you feel better for getting sick and dying off shit you shouldn't have been putting in your body in the first place. It's a beautiful perpetual cycle.
It really is. And at this point, though, is it the food? Is it the drink? Is it the water? Is it the air? Is it the soil? Which of the many things that's giving me cancer is it that killed me?
Yes.
All of them. It's all of them.
It is a little from every column.
That's crazy.
It is. But, even nutritional... wow. Sometimes I just can't speak, and I should probably shut up when those times come around, but I never do.
Don't worry about it. I stutter myself.
Yeah. But anyway, I was going to say, the nutritional value of food is really not even taught that well in medical schools. I think most doctors only have to take like a 1-semester course in nutrition. And it doesn't teach them that, certain amounts of vitamins and minerals will heal the body of almost any illness.
Right.
Hippocrates, doctors always talk about the Hippocratic oath they had to take.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's based off the work of Hippocrates, a Greek philosopher. He was very famous for having said, "Let food be thy medicine."
Right.
Because even back in ancient Greece, they knew food was what made you better.
Well, I try to stay away from over-the-counter medications and things like that. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get a cold and I reach for some cold medicine.
Yeah.
But for instance, for myself, I have menstrual cramps and I buy plants called cramp bark, and it's cramp bark because it's for cramps. And you take it for a couple of days before your period, and then for a few days during your period. So maybe you take it about 5 days total, and it almost entirely eliminates the cramps. Again, I'm not a doctor, so speak to your doctor before you go and take anything. But I bought this herb called cramp bark, and it works wonders for me. And while doing research on it, I found out that some of the Native American peoples used to utilize it to prevent miscarriage when they would begin to have spotting and cramping during pregnancy. And they would eat a little bit of this plant or make it into a tea. And it would ease up the cramping of the uterus so that the baby wouldn't be born unnecessarily.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of people who are pagan, Wiccan, what have you, the old ways as they call it. They actually do find a lot of books that are based on old healing techniques.
Sure.
And that's what the shamans and the witches used to be back in the day. They were the village healers.
Right. They were the doctor.
Yeah, they understood what plants did what to the body and how to work them into your regular diet to make you the healthiest person possible. We need to start doing that again. There are lots of books out there on natural remedies for everything, and it works. If you really start practicing this stuff, if you get it from a reputable source.
Right.
Don't just buy anything that says natural remedies, because like anything else, there are cunts out there that'll sell you garbage.
Yeah, but I used to take fennel for intestinal cramping. I had this weird intestinal infection that I ended up having to actually go into a medical doctor and get medication for, but for the longest time they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so I was taking fennel, and that is a plant that they use as a flavoring for sausage. It smells and kind of tastes like black licorice. But long story short, it's for intestinal cramping, like irritable bowel and that sort of thing. So you can buy these amazing herbal supplements. However, you need to do research and you need to find out what they are. And God, talk to your doctor. So other stuff you take may not react well with it. You cannot just go nilly-willy to the vitamin store and buy stuff.
Well, that's true. And most people selling health foods don't realize there are some who are very well educated. And
sure.
You can tell when you're talking to them that they know what they're talking about, and you can generally tell who's just blowing smoke. But, yeah, if you're taking certain pharmaceutical medications and you start taking these herbs, they can counteract with each other in horrible ways.
Yes.
You got to be careful with that.
Absolutely. Now, what are your feelings on daily vitamins, like a multivitamin?
I take a bunch of vitamins. I take like a big multivitamin. I take vitamin B. I take vitamin C. I take some fish oil stuff for skin because I have horrible skin, mostly based on the garbage diet that I eat.
Yeah.
But those I do, when I go through a week of not taking vitamins, I can feel the drain on my body. I just feel tired all the time, even though I'm insomniac and I never sleep. But the vitamins help. And especially like if I go out and actually drink and get drunk, the next morning I'm going to have a horrible hangover. But if I pop a good handful of vitamins, which you cannot overdose on vitamin C, if I just take like 2 or 3 times the daily dose, that shit's gone in an hour.
Well, and when you take a multivitamin, it often has 2 or 3 times the daily dose in it.
Right. So I'm taking a week's worth in one shot.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree about taking vitamins. I think that I personally, when I can afford it, which is not often, I will try to find vitamins that are actually made out of foodstuffs. like you can flip over the canister and it will say like beta carotene from carrots. And so I try to get ones that are whole food, but it's expensive and I'm poor, so I can't always afford to do so. But when I can, I do. But I do the best that I can with what I have. And I fall off the wagon a lot, though. I will forget to take my vitamins for like months.
I do the same. I actually went through my cabinet at one point, and I had a bunch of vitamins in there that had been expired for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And when you buy them, they're good for 2 or 3 years. So I must have had them for several years before I really got on the regimen of taking them every day. But, I mean, hell, I'm mid-30s now, and I can still run around with people that are in their early 20s, and I don't get worn out that bad.
Not like some of the old folks we know that are our age.
Not like some people who get to 25 and they're like, I'm old, I can't do anything anymore. I bitch about being old when I throw a football the wrong way or a baseball can't make it all the way across the field, but it's a good excuse. It doesn't mean I'm not getting out and being active, and the vitamins help.
Right.
Eating healthy definitely helps.
Right. Well, and being active doesn't mean that you have to go to a gym and work out.
You don't have to go to a gym. That is I don't know. I agree with going to a gym for people who cannot get motivated and they need to be in a certain atmosphere to actually get their exercise.
Right.
But if you have the discipline, like start meditating. Once you've got a good meditation discipline going on, you can motivate yourself to exercise in your home. I have all the equipment I need within just a couple of dumbbells. I've got a thank you, Chuck Norris. I have a total gym.
I don't have a total gym.
He didn't give it to me. I had to buy the damn thing, but it was cheap. I got it secondhand, but it works great, and you can work out your entire body really well. And I don't have to worry about, I don't have the motivation to go to the gym today, or I don't want to have to get dressed and go let people watch me work out.
Right.
Just do it in the house. Go out for a walk. I play a lot of disc golf, which gets me out and walking up and down hills in local parks.
Yeah, Bill actually just introduced me to that a couple weeks ago.
I just learned about this. I had seen the ranges, but thought, that game looks stupid.
Right.
Last spring, somebody introduced me to it, and I tried it out, and I thought, holy crap, this is a lot of fun.
It really is, yeah. Bill took me for the first time. Him and his wife were kind of taking me for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I had a blast. Yeah,
I'm telling you, and it's the perfect game for anybody who wants to go out and drink while they play. Because you're not going to hurt anybody but yourself. You might fall down a hill if you're really stupid.
You may.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hills.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, when you're walking up and down them, especially if you go at least once a week, you're going to help build up your cardio a little bit.
Right.
Definitely get your exercise in. You're getting a lot of fresh air. You're interweaving yourself with nature a little bit,
Right. And it's good to get outside and breathe. Get outside and breathe some air.
You need to get some vitamin D from that sun that floats around in the sky. The big ball of fire that used to be our god.
I want to talk about my own workout equipment in a second, but before I forget, I want to bring up, this is a weird theory I've always had about people spending too much time indoors. I wonder if the reason why so many people have bad eyesight is because they spend so much time indoors because you aren't looking as far to the horizon. Like you're only looking at like a 8x10 room all the time. And so I wonder if it actually is bad for your eyes to not be stretched to look out to the horizon all the time.
I think yes. A lot of people, like I've done really well on a lot of hearing tests. My eyes are in better than perfect condition according to most medical tests. But it's because I would look at things in the distance and draw them into view. Like I would look at when we're riding with my parents on long road trips, I would stare at that sign that was a mile away until I could pull it into focus enough to read it. And that's probably why I can flex my pupils, because I learned how to exercise. And in, your eyes, your ears, hearing sounds from far away and learning how to isolate them within your own head and hear what's going on in some form of clarity.
Right.
Meditation is an exercise for the brain. Every part of your body needs to be exercised in order to work and proper functionally.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, my own personal workout equipment, I have a set of little dumbbells.
Function properly. Holy crap, I said those backwards.
Oh, did you? I didn't even notice.
See, apparently my speech hasn't been exercised very well.
And my ears aren't working because I didn't even hear it. Wow.
We don't practice when we preach. We're liars.
We are. We're hypocrites.
Not terrible ones.
Well, no more than anyone else.
That's true.
But yeah, my own personal workout equipment, I have a pair of shoes and some socks. I had a friend explain to me how important it was to get socks that wick. I'm very excited about it.
I have never done that.
Oh yeah, the thing is I got them at like a cheap chain store. They were only $10 for a big old pack of them. And you're supposed to look for ones apparently that have less cotton in them. The less cotton, the better, because the moisture stays in them and make your feet get too hot. So anyway, so I have a package of socks, I have a pair of shoes, I have a backpack, and I have barbells. And so I use the barbells, work out my arms, obviously. But I put them inside the backpack, strap the backpack to my back, put on my shoes and socks, and walk distances. And because I don't want to hurt my back, because I don't have health insurance right now. Thanks, Obama. But
thank you, Jenna Marbles.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't have health insurance, so I'm careful to only add it by like 2 pound increments. But I think it's important to strengthen my core, and plus it makes the workout just a little bit more difficult because I've got this extra weight on my back. And I think it really helps. I think it's really good. It puts just a little more pressure, and then when I walk or run without the pack, it's a breeze.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do the same thing. Like, one of my favorite cardio exercises, I take these 2 20-pound dumbbells that I have, and I shadow box with them for like 15 minutes.
That's cool.
I mean, it's an awesome cardio. It really builds up the strength in the arms. But then when you put the weights down and you start shadow boxing again, you're much, much faster.
I was going to say, you must seem like you're out of a ninja movie.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was something I learned when I was a kid, and I love doing it. It's a great exercise. If I could find like good 20-pound weights that I could strap around my legs, I'd do the same thing and go into full kata.
I know that they make them, but they're kind of expensive.
Yeah, and I'm cheap. So,
no, I don't blame you.
So they're not coming my... I tell you what, though, I saw one thing that I would love to have, although they were like, I want to say about $75 or so from what I saw online. They make these Kevlar toe socks. You know, the ones that separate your toes, the new runner shoes. But the sock is strong enough to protect your feet, and supposedly you can wear it for hiking out in the mountains, rock climbing,
just
things like
socks?
that. Yeah, well, they're made out of a Kevlar blend, just like a bulletproof vest. That would be awesome, because then you get more of that natural feel for the way the foot moves.
Right.
That's a good idea. I would love to try that out.
That is fun. I'd like to try that, too.
So if you make those and you're listening, send me a pair, and I'll give you a great little recommendation.
I like socks, too. I wear a shoe size 8.5.
I've got giant clown feet. It's a 12.
My shirt size is medium if you want to send me a t-shirt. I'm just saying. But
I wear larger ones than that.
Well, send any size. I'll still wear them. I'll squeeze into it.
I'll squeeze my big ass into an extra small.
Exactly. I have an extra small shirt that I bought by accident at one of the resale shops because I held it up and I was looking. I'm like, well, it looks like it would fit. And I went home and I put it on and I'm like, why am I having to like scrunch and squeeze into this thing? And it was like rolling into a sausage casing. And then I had to have help extricating myself back out of it and didn't look at the size until then. It was like a double extra small. Who even heard of a damn double extra small? But it was really soft material. It was $1.50, not well spent, because I didn't try it on before I left.
My wife and I were at this outdoor concert at the Milwaukee Zoo a couple of years ago. And it was incredibly hot out. I mean, way more than I was expecting for the day. And I was wearing a black shirt.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was dying. And my shirt was completely soaked in sweat. So when we get to where the concert's going to start, they had a little pavilion where they were selling the concert T-shirts. And I really liked the band, so I didn't mind jumping in and paying a little bit extra. And I'm like, I need an extra large shirt. And I picked out the design I wanted, and they pull out the only extra large that they could find.
Yeah.
And I would have said large, but I just wanted to make sure it was big enough or roomy enough that I could fan myself out with it. Well, I put this shirt on, and it was incredibly tight. The sleeves only came like a quarter of the way down my bicep.
Was it a girl's extra large?
It was a girl's extra large. They didn't bother telling me that.
Oh, God.
I looked a little girly, but I was okay with it.
Yeah, I had a tank top on the other day that I got at a resale shop, and I think that you might have seen me in it, but I know that my mom did because I went over to her house, and she's like, where'd you get that? Got it at the resale shop. Anyway, the point of the story is, I said, can you guess what size this is? What is it, like a medium large? I said, this is a 3X.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just because they, like, I don't know if they mislabeled it or if it's for, like, children's, it's like a child's dress and I'm wearing it as a shirt or what. But there is no way that this shirt is a 3X. There's no way.
Sizes crack me up. My grandmother, bless her heart, I love the woman to death, but I've been this size since I was 14.
Right, stocky guy.
Yeah, and I've needed an extra large shirt since I was 14.
Right.
My grandmother got me a sweater one year for Christmas when I was 15, and it said large, and I'm like, or no, it was a medium, that's what it was, and I'm like, oh, Grandma, it's a nice sweater, but it will never fit. She's like, no, honey, it's a medium in men's. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, Grandma, listen.
Do you not realize that I'm as big as all the other men in the family?
Right. But just because of your age, she thought you were smaller. Yeah, that's funny. But sizing is really crazy. There's a couple stores now that are selling sizes like if you go and buy like a size 12, 14, or 16 women's size, those are now becoming size 0, 1, and 2. And so when I was a little bit healthier size, and by healthier I mean I was a little bit more chunky, not actually physically healthy, but I was a little more chunky, and I was wearing like a size 12 or 14, and I would go to the store and I'd be like, man, I'm down to a 0. I look good. And that's exactly what it was, a marketing voice. And you're like, there's no way that my ass looked like a size 0 ass. And I've gotten a little more fit and trim since then, but yeah, it was crazy to me. And then they had not only different numbers, 0, 1, 2, and 3, then it would be different colors and shapes. So like it would be like a round size, a circle. Those meant that you were more curvy. If it was a square, it was more up and down. You weren't as curvy. And the other one was triangle, which meant you had wider hips. So then you had to compare it. Like, it was the craziest thing trying to buy a pair of jeans. I'm like, okay, so what number am I? Because it has nothing to do with my actual pant size. And then what color/shape am I? It was crazy. I never did understand the thing, and it never got a pair of jeans that fit right.
It seems weird, but I almost wish they'd do that with men's clothing.
Really? I hate it.
My waist is about a 32, but if I don't buy a 36, I can't fit them, even the baggy style, over my thighs.
Okay, but you know what? I've had that problem too.
And then, of course, if you buy a 36-inch waist, they assume you're 7 feet tall.
Right. So
and being under 6 foot, I can never find clothes that fit.
Well, that's true, because I wonder why sometimes jeans or other kinds of pants, why they're so damn baggy in the legs. Just because you need a certain size waist doesn't mean that you got giant legs.
Yeah.
Or a giant pouch in the front that needs all this extra room for accommodation. And yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, it's funny when I pick up, like, each of my thighs are about 28 inches around.
All right.
And so putting on a pair of 32-inch pants,
it's all muscle.
I can't barely get the waist open more than 6 inches past my knees.
I've actually been there before. Yeah.
It's funny. But, if they just start designing things for the way people look.
Well, yeah, for the way people actually are shaped, that would be nice.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's kind of weird. I used to have to buy always tall jeans and pants. And now apparently I've become average height. Because the talls are now way too long and the average ones are almost too long. I don't know what happened. But I used to be tall and now I'm just average.
Yeah, I remember a point in time when I was average and now I think I'm short.
Are you short now?
Everybody seems to be well over 6 foot nowadays and I'm just midget.
Well, there's another thing about sizing that's always perplexed me. I know you won't know anything about this because you're a guy. Women's underwear sizes have nothing to do with their pant size at all. You wear one size pants and a totally different size underwear. Because I remember taking my mom to the store and trying to explain this to her. Because I don't know why she never figured this out in her life, but she never did. And I'm like, no. If you buy that pair of panties, that size of panties, it's going to be fucking huge. And by God, she didn't listen to me. She took them home. Well, who are these for? Who could these possibly fit? I have no idea. Mom. But so, like, for instance, if you wear like a size 8 jeans, you probably wear like a size 5 or 6 underwear. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
If you wear a size 16 jeans, you wear a size 8 underwear.
See, now, the women's sizes never made any damn sense to me. And men's sizes are very simple. You have the waist size.
And the length.
And length. That's it. That's all you need. And it's the exact same on all brands of men's clothing because it's based in inches.
Right.
Or meters or whatever your measurement is for your country. Women's sizes don't make any damn sense.
At all.
And not only that, but every company makes the sizes differently.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to find anything that fits? No wonder why women spend so much time shopping and men can be done with like a year's worth of shopping in 20 minutes.
But it's true, though. And even for shoe sizes, sometimes you have to buy a size bigger or a size smaller just because that's what it says on the thing. It's not the actual shoe size. And how they can change shoe sizes, because you'd think it would be based on length and width.
Why aren't all shoe sizes the same?
Well, I mean...
men's and women's.
I don't know. Why is that?
Feet come in the same size.
But yeah, there's been a time or two I've bought men's shoes and had to figure out with the conversion chart what size I wore and why isn't it all universal? It doesn't make any sense. That is really strange.
It is, but it keeps you going out there and buying more shit, supporting the economy, buying more shit that's made in sweatshops. And we need to start making sure that things are made here in this country. That was one of the things when I said that 500% tax increase on all imported goods. That would instantaneously get rid of our dependence and our support of slave trades in other countries. It would rebuild American textiles, our own production here, create jobs, end the deficit. We could fix everything with that one line of legislature, which I would hope everybody in Congress and Senate would be able to actually read.
You know they don't have time for that.
Oh, when I heard somebody state that, I thought, what the fuck are you talking about, moron?
We don't have time to read all of
That's what
things.
we pay you for. If you don't have time to read it, you don't have time to collect your paycheck anymore. Go home.
Well, when they go on their breaks for like a month at a time, what the hell do they do during that time?
Yeah.
Read your paperwork. What do you think we give you that vacation for?
Why are we allowing them to keep collecting 100% of their pay for the rest of their lives when nobody else in the working world gets to do that?
Why are they getting insurance for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, socialist insurance at that, you bastards.
Exactly. No, we don't want socialized health care only for us.
Yeah.
It's in Congress.
We want the wealthy people to have it, not you poor folks. You'll start getting healthy and living too long.
Right.
Well, let's ignore them and just get healthy anyway.
Yeah, we're going to get healthy on our own. We're going to work out with our backpacks full of weights.
Yeah, put a bunch of rocks in there.
Put a bunch of rocks in there. You can throw a gallon jug, like a milk jug, fill it with water. That's heavy as hell.
Oh,
Stick that in your backpack.
Well, a gallon of water weighs 8.32 pounds.
8.32 pounds.
Why do I know these things? I got no idea.
Wait, I didn't know that. But I knew people that used to do like bicep curls with milk jugs.
And just basic isometrics, taking them and holding them in a position and not moving yourself. You know, if you stand up and just spread your arms straight out to your sides at shoulder length and hold them, that's an awesome isometric movement for your arms, your biceps, your triceps, everything. It's good for you. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do. You know, if you live in a poorer community, and of course nobody out there is giving you a farmer's market because you're probably too close to a city, just start reclaiming some of this abandoned property. So put in community gardens.
Right.
You know, talk to your friends, your neighbors, the people who live around you, and get them to all help and pitch in and work at the place. And then start feeding everybody something that's better for them, better than what's available in the stores.
Well, and in some communities, the only stores they have available are convenience stores.
Yeah.
And so the only thing they have to choose for meals are things like chips and treats and fake juices that don't even have any actual fruit in them.
Yeah, and not only that, but when you go to poorer neighborhoods, those sugar-filled, nasty foods that are no good for you, the overly processed stuff, it is much cheaper than it is anywhere else. But the healthier foods are more expensive.
Yes.
And that goes everywhere that I've ever seen. I always look at the prices of things when I'm in, you know, normal, well-to-do type neighborhoods, or if I'm in poor neighborhoods. And poor neighborhoods, it's always more expensive to eat healthier.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're just trying to kill people with commerce.
No, I agree. I was in a neighborhood in Chicago a few years ago, and I was just taken aback when I saw that the little tiny jug of orange juice was $7.50.
Yeah.
And I know in my neighborhood it would.
How much was the orange drink?
Yeah. Well, the orange drink was $3.
Yeah.
And so you can get the flavored orange drink for literally way less than half the price. And that's sick. In my neighborhood, orange juice is also expensive, but it's a little more affordable. And trust me, I don't live in a super awesome neighborhood.
No, not in the least bit. We're still in somewhat of a poor region.
Right.
We just have more wealthy people around us.
We get to suckle from their teeth.
We get to freaking from their dustbins.
Exactly. But yeah. Well, and that's how I get the decent stuff from the resale shops clothing-wise.
That's true. I buy a lot of name brand stuff from resale shops. I won't go to a regular retail store.
Oh, hell no. Who could afford to?
I'm never paying $70 for a pair of pants. But if it has the same name brand on it and I see it for $3, I might pick it up.
Well, yeah, I got those fantastic winter snow boots for like $5. They were great.
That's awesome.
Good name brand, solid ones.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that. But I always recommend people go places other than Goodwill. I mean, Goodwill is. Put this post on Facebook underneath somebody's comment. My friend Matt had posted a comment about donating stuff there. Goodwill is basically an organized garage sale where one person makes all the profit.
Right.
And it's good for people who can't afford a regular retail outlet. But at the same time, if you're going to be donating a lot of stuff, give it directly to the people who need it. And as much as I might not be a religious person, I might have a lot of bad things to say about different churches. A lot of church organizations do have shops in them where they give things to the more needy people in society.
Right.
Give it to them. Let them distribute it to people who really need it.
Yeah.
And do the same with foodstuffs that you're not eating. I mean, if you've got a huge pantry that's full of shit that will probably expire before you ever touch it, you bought it for some recipe that you decided to never make and it's been sitting in there for a year. If it's a non-perishable item, get it to people who need it. Right.
Yeah, quit hoarding stuff that you're then just going to throw away.
Right.
But yeah, and I go to resale shops.
We both said right a lot there.
Yeah, we did. That was pretty right on. But the one resale shop that I prefer to frequent is a volunteer organization that was, I think, 8 different churches got together from different communities.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, they got together, and what they use their profits for, everyone that works there is a volunteer, and they use their profits to help people who are getting out of rehab or from the battered women's shelters, and they help them get things that they need, like dishes and silverware and bedding and furniture and all the different things that you need to get an apartment when when they get their life straightened out. And so they use all the profits to help people get apartments getting out of rehab and the battered women's shelter. So that's why I go there and not to the other one you named, Goodwill.
Yeah.
Because I like, even though they charge something, they don't charge anywhere near the amount of prices Goodwill does, and they still have 50% off days, and so literally you're paying 50 cents for things.
That's awesome.
And they use the money to help people who are in bad situations to help get their foot back in the door somewhere.
I'm all about it. I mean, be charitable. No matter what religion you follow, your deity probably talks about charity and taking care of those less fortunate.
Right.
Even if you don't have a lot, if you're getting rid of something, give it to someone who needs it. It's one of the best things you can do for your own karma. Yeah.
And if you don't know what to do with it, call the churches and say, I have this bed. Do you know anybody that needs a bed? And chances are they will. And there are things like that happen all the time, like home fires, where people need everything all over again. They don't have anything.
You lost your entire world and couldn't afford the insurance payments to get reimbursed for it.
Right.
Yeah. Craigslist is a great place to go and look and see. There's a needed section, I believe, or I forgot exactly how they worded it. It's like something wanted or free stuff. List things that you're willing to give away. If you're going to just throw stuff out, put out a curb alert and let people know where they can go and pick it up.
Right. And if you're uncomfortable about having people come to your house, which I can completely understand,
give out someone you don't like's address and drop it off in front of their place.
Drop it off in front of their place. But
don't do that. You'll get in trouble, and I'm not taking responsibility for it.
You really will get in trouble. But see if maybe one of the churches wouldn't allow you to set it out front in front of the church. Talk to a church and say, hey, I've got this furniture I'm trying to give away. Is it okay if I put a notice up on Craigslist and I'll come and set it right out front by the building? If no one comes and get it, by tomorrow I'll come back and pick it up. That way it's in public. You don't have to put yourself in danger. Because I know that there's some creepers out there. But it's if we don't start trying to help people and try to open a little bit of trust, things aren't going to get any better. And I'm not saying to just, leap and do things like invite strangers into your home, because that's probably not a good idea.
Nah, we're not quite that far along mentally to be able to do that with people.
But utilize the organizations like the churches, because that's what they're there for. They're there for community betterment. They want to better the community.
And if they're not doing that, well, fuck them. They're probably not worthy of your time or your donations.
Right, and then that's kind of how you can see what organizations you want to align yourself with and which ones you don't.
If they're telling you to donate to the poor, but at the same time they're living on a golden throne and in a giant castle in the richest nation in the world, even though it's smaller than most cities, they're probably not worth your time or your effort.
Right.
They're not doing what they're telling you to do. To hell with them.
Exactly. So do some things on your own, and don't keep supporting things that you don't agree with.
No. And even though we all mess up, we all eat the junk food, we all act selfishly from time to time, do more good than bad.
Right.
You're going to have much better karma. You're going to live a better life. You're going to be happier with yourself in the long run. Be good.
Yeah. Do your best, and your best is not the same every day.
Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other.
Right on, man.
Party on.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm tired of talking.
Yeah, so we're going to end for this episode.
That sounds like a good point.
Go out there, love your neighbor, do whatever. Remember, Ben Wall balls can randomly fall out, so wear tighter fitting underwear.
And don't call people funk.
And don't call people funk.
All right. See ya, folks.
Have a good week. Bye.